Thinking about switching to electric, but not sure where to start? Head to the Holden Group's Electrify Your Drive event from the 4th to 6th of June at the GridServe Electric Forecourt in Norwich. Test drive over 20 electric vehicles from leading brands, all in one place. Whether you're EV curious or ready to make the switch, this is your chance to experience electric properly. Book your slot now at electrifyyourdrive.co.uk.
Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
I'm Faye.
And I'm Prashant.
So yeah, we're going rogue. There's no James today. He's gone on holiday. So I have just riotously replaced him with our guest for this week. So Prashant, how are you?
Oh, well, I'm not too bad, and I'm happy to be on this show. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, usually in the past, my job has been to get you talking on the radio and things like that. So it's really nice to actually have you being the host with me at the start of this episode, because I know you're good at news reads and things like that. But let's talk about last week, first of all, because we kind of bumped into each other and were at similar types of events as well. So let's mix things up and find out from you. How was your week last week, Prashant?
Well, I really enjoyed my time at UK Reef, which is where I saw you. And really exciting energy there as always. A lot of cool people there doing cool things. I think that was the key highlight of my week last week.
And you weren't actually really you obviously wear multiple hats all the time, but you were wearing the Form the Future hat really at UK Reef, weren't you? So how did that come about?
That's right. So I'm the chair of Form the Future, and it's an organisation which helps young people into careers that they love. It's about giving them opportunities of awareness of what careers they don't know about and give them exposure to it. And that exposure comes in the form of work experiences or people from business and industry coming into school and telling them about their work. It's also about understanding and connectivity to those organizations, and it really helps open up their eyes. I mean, you can't be what you can't see, and that's what Form the Future are really good at. It's a tough environment for funding for all such organizations, so I was out there doing my bit, talking to various authorities about what we can do to keep Form the Future going and allowing it to do all the brilliant work that it does. I mean, it helps and supports nearly kind of 45,000 kids a year across 160 different schools. So it's a really immense amount of work that it does.
I think that's why it's important, isn't it, to get more funding, because that's a lot of people, but that's not the entirety of the school systems in certainly our region. And, you know, I guess there's opportunities for broader regions as well. So, yeah, your job was out there to try and drum up some interest for future funding.
Yeah, I was talking to the mayor, I've been talking to the Supercluster board, I've been talking across the region to different kind of authority heads. And then there's also the Cambridge Growth Company. So these are all people which we do work in their territory. So it's important for them to understand what work is going on and how we can work together to keep the good work going.
Yeah. And still on UK Reef, I saw you as I was doing my first outing, if you like, for the Cambridge-Manchester Partnership on the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority booth. And I saw your radiant face smiling up at me from in the audience. So how did you find that reception?
Well, firstly, I thought, wow, Faye, what are you doing there? So I didn't know you were kind of a partnership director of Manchester and Cambridge Partnership. So firstly, that beam was a kind of joy and pride, I think, and a bit of surprise in my eyes. But I was delighted to see you putting kind of Sean Grady through his paces. And I thought, and I enjoyed that. And he mentioned he was more terrified about being in front of you than he was being in front of the Parliamentary Select Committee. The thing is, I think he knows and can prepare for, his aides and his team can prepare him for the Parliamentary Select Committee. But with you, he's got no idea what you can ask him. So I think he was absolutely terrified. But it was a great double act, you and Sean, obviously.
Yeah, and it wasn't, honestly, listeners, it really wasn't that bad. You're not going to do me any favours here for getting guests on the podcast if you're suggesting it's a terrifying experience being interviewed by me. Anyway, so the partnership, I can't believe that you've missed the fact that that's my job. I've been doing it now for nearly 3 months. But we've kind of come out of now that getting everything set up mode and starting to talk about things. So it was great to, like you, talk to investors, developers, different officials. You know, we talked to Sean, Caroline Simpson from Greater Manchester Combined Authority, Paul Bristow as well. So yeah, that was really good. It was my first outing to UK Reef, which was definitely a little bit of an experience. But I walked in and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not going to know anybody here. I walked into this massive Royal Armouries section of Leeds, and immediately Richard Broadbent went, Faye Holland. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. This is like, it's totally ridiculous, isn't it?
It's home from home. It's uncanny how we all travel from all over the country, and we kind of all seem to know each other, and especially in the Cambridge and Peterborough pavilion. And the other one that's home from home is the Oxford Cambridge pavilion, and most of us from Cambridge kind of oscillate between the two, and it's very intimate gathering of really interesting people who are doing very relevant work, and you can have really meaningful conversations about your day-to-day activities and have 3 or 4 of you there all at once, all the key decision makers. So I think it's a brilliant conference, and I like what you're doing with the Cambridge Manchester partnership. You know, historically we've always looked south to London primarily, and we're beginning to look west now with East West Rail to Oxford and through the Arc, and we've never really looked north too much. So I think this is a great way to kind of address that gap, and you've got some great people involved in this partnership. There's got a lot of energy.
Well, when we do eventually get onto the episode of Cambridge Wide Open Week, then maybe we should have that conversation about it expanding up north as well.
Yeah, well, we're definitely got one eye. You know, there's momentum for doing this in Manchester, and there's definitely been conversations about extending CWOW to Manchester. What a thought!
Yeah, indeed, full domination. But let's come back to that. So I believe that UK Reef wasn't your only outing last week. You found yourself in London at a Singapore trade event, I believe.
Yeah, I was chit-chatting to some people from the British Chambers of Commerce, and they're doing a joint program with Singapore and the UK government, and George Freeman was there as a special envoy, and they're doing some really interesting work to bring together the two life science communities. And I ran into Charlotte, and I was chit-chatting with her, and she goes, Faye's my chair. I said, which Faye is your chair? She goes, Faye Holland. I go, are you sure? This is the second time in the week that you've surprised me with a new position, and I had to kind of check your LinkedIn profile to check this as it wasn't a joke. Actually, I actually did that because I was just so surprised that you were chair of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and I didn't know about this either.
We need a proper catch up, Prashant. I mean, there's so many things that I've just got to update you on here, I think.
But you're mounting a takeover of some sort, I think. You're getting involved in everything. This is brilliant. Well, it's good because I know you well, so hopefully I shall follow in your glorious slipstream.
We all work together, don't we, like you just said, which is great. But actually, it was quite a big week for the British Chambers as well. I went with Charlotte to the House of Lords for the BCC President's Lunch. So Andy Haldane, who's the new president, held this lovely lunch. We were there with Michael Heyman, the new chair, Siobhan Haviland. All the chairs and CEOs of 51 national chambers were there, and quite a lot of the international chambers too. So that was a pretty significant event. And actually, the message was really interesting from it. It was about resolute optimism about UK PLC, but with a very, very firm call for businesses not to have a duvet day, but to step up and lead. And I think, going back to what you're doing with CWOW, what we're doing in the partnership, that's very much the kind of momentum that I think we need, because, the level of perma pressure that's out there is not going to change. So I think we've just got to crack on, haven't we?
I think that's right. I think we've actually got cause for optimism because the reason probably why I'm not sure about all these amazing things that you've been recently doing and have added to your work is that I've been out and about in Boston, New York, Paris, Bombay, Ahmedabad, was in Davos as well over these last few months, in San Diego. So I've got a real good sense of what's kind of going on in the life science scene. And looking at the macroeconomic picture, we're seeing, I think, encouragement on a number of fronts across the life sciences industry, but primarily the IPO market is opening up for biotech and the aftermarket is looking healthier. We're seeing a lot more M&A deals happening and bigger ones happening. So a lot of the GLP cash is beginning to filter through into new deals, bigger deals, more research, more development work. So that's encouraging. I think we're also beginning to see a very strong effect of AI. So we're seeing cost efficiencies coming in, things happening more quickly, and that potentially means more medicines at lower cost, and inexorably cost of doing drug research has been going up. This is one way in which we can reverse that. And if you look at the explosion of different modalities, which are all maturing, where we're working across genetics, RNA, target protein degradation, and a lot of stuff happening in antibody drug conjugates, peptides, a lot of new ways of doing things, and some of these even in combination. There's lots of places in which you can invest in life sciences, and a lot of people are beginning to come back to life sciences. So I'm seeing some encouragement. It's not all plain sailing. There's some bad news out there too, but increasingly I'm seeing that the good news is beginning to outweigh the bad news, and it really does feel as if we've got some momentum coming into the summer in the life science sector.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. I know certainly we take the news feed from our friends at Business Weekly every week, and there's always something going on life sciences and biotech. But like you say, some of it is not always that positive. I mean, we had last week, BitBio had been bought out of administration for £160,000. You know, that in itself was quite a shock, I think, for a lot of people, that whole journey.
Well, BitBio has been a star of our economy, the Cambridge economy, for some years. And when you look at the technology and what it does, it kind of actually an engineering biology play in which you actually reprogram the cells to do a different activity. I mean, it's just kind of mind blowing. And I've seen Mark Cotter present it. It's literally mind blowing. So I'm glad to see that it's going to have a second lease of life. He's a brilliant entrepreneur, and sometimes it's about timing and getting the right opportunities, and hopefully there'll be a strong second lease of life for the incredible work that has gone on there.
Yeah, and I think if we, you just said you spent some time over in the US, actually that could be the best learning for BitBio, as they move forward. So it's not always bad news, it's another opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, drug discovery is truly a global game. And as I've been out and about on the planet over the last few months, I've run into people from Cambridge in every corner of the planet doing things, and it is truly global. And a lot of the conversations with the community about how much more we need to do to build those global connections. So yes, Cambridge is looking to Oxfam, London, Manchester, but increasingly, look at what the work of Tony and One Nucleus building that bridge to Boston, for example, or the work we did in showcasing JP Morgan, and a lot of the Cambridge community came together to showcase the best companies at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference in San Francisco.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to see how good you are at reading the news now, Prashant, because you're literally taking the full role here. So we've got 3 pieces of news, and because I'm such a charitable, lovely person, I'm giving you 2 of them. So do you want to take us away with the first piece of news?
Well, the first bit of news is another delightful bit of news from the science parks in Cambridge, and the work of Jamie and Jane, who I ran into last week. They were cock-a-hoop at the expansion of the Cambridge Science Park. And Trinity College, who have been doing that work, we're really delighted to announce a almost threefold extension of the UK's most important and first science park, and there'll be 20,000 new jobs coming there, and they're going vertical a little bit more, and they're making their car park more efficient, and they're expanding a little bit as well. But what a great opportunity for next generation of innovation to come to this amazing science park.
Yeah, and I think it's a 30-year plan, isn't it? So they're jumping from 7,500 to 20,000 over that 30-year plan. So it's going to be really exciting to see that unfold. So I'll do a piece of news as well. This is from Circuit Hub, an American business whose R&D team is based in Cambridge. They've raised $28 million in a round led by Plural to help onshore electronics manufacturing in the West and make it as fast and accessible as software. Circuit Hub produces electronics in days rather than months thanks to its first-of-a-kind automated manufacturing system, and it's already delivered to over 2 million boards across sectors, including self-driving cars and satellites, and has become the fastest-growing electronics manufacturer in the US. The company has suggested that the new funding will lead to more factories being built across Europe and growing its engineering team on both sides of the Atlantic. And just so people know, because it is a US company, they have around 20 people in Cambridge, but they're looking at hiring around another 100 roles in R&D over the next couple of years. So there's some good opportunities there for people looking for, that kind of employment in Cambridge.
That's very, very welcome news. Inward investment in high tech from high tech companies, most welcome. I don't know if you know about dandelions, but this one's about dandelions. Faye, absolutely fascinating. Engineered dandelions. Cubatech and Norfolk Biotech is developing a sustainable natural rubber, especially from engineered dandelions. Engineered dandelions, Faye, can you believe that? As a new way of generating sustainable rubber. I had to read that 3 times to be sure I got that correct. They've raised $3.4 million in combination grant and equity funding, and they're accelerating development of its engineering biology platform and scale commercial operations in the UK. The funding is from the UK Innovation and Science Seed Fund, managed by Future Planet. And I know Oliver, and he was very excited about that. I ran into him yesterday at the BIA, and the Sustainable Ventures Fund. And both of them are backing Cubatech's engineering biology platform. And they've got deep expertise in plant biology, genome editing, and transformative technologies, which I hope will move their lab to commercial reality.
Bravo. And I love the extra addition of a few name drops and meetings that you've had in there as well. So it's great. Puts a bit of substance on it. So let's get on with today's episode now, because actually, although this has been a wonderful chat and update with you, we've actually got you on here for a reason, not just to replace James for an episode. What we wanted to do was talk to you about Cambridge Wide Open Week, which is now fast approaching. So let's start with the basics first of all. When is it taking place?
It's spread over 2 weeks now, and it's in June. And we're starting in Oxford this year on June the 11th. On June the 12th, Friday, we're in London. And then we're in Cambridge from June 15th to 19th.
So you've kind of gone the other way. A lot of these tech weeks and week activities tend to end up being like actually 3 or 4 days, not even an entire week. And now you're making a week last for 2 weeks.
Well, we've really enjoyed being a week of life sciences at the home of life sciences last year. And it felt kind of in line with our conversation earlier about connectivity to different ecosystems, innovation ecosystems in the UK and beyond that. But it felt natural to kind of add Oxford and London to what we were doing. And there's amazing innovation happening there. Of course there is. And a life sciences week in Cambridge, Oxford and London are very much part of that extended story of how life science operates and works. It's a very joined up ecosystem.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Is it the same format in Oxford and London?
we're picking out one part of what we were doing in Cambridge, which was the venture tour. This is where we get the most prominent local venture funds to showcase their best companies. And we hop around different bits of the city and see what's going on. And we start with a breakfast and tail it with a reception. So that's the format which we're taking from the Cambridge Venture Tour and rolling that into London and Oxford. And we're at some amazing venues in London, like the London Stock Exchange and the Francis Crick and Victoria House. And similarly in Oxford, we've got some great venues, some iconic venues in and around the city, and the most important funds in Oxford as well, which are supporting innovation and their leading companies. So it'll be really looking forward to it.
So have you got any names that you can drop in those sessions, Prashant, just to help put a bit of context in? So the format is it'll be one of the venture funds and 3 or 4 of the companies presenting, something like that?
That's correct. And then an opportunity for venture capitalists and then ecosystem operators to come in. And we even allow a few space for members of the public to join in as well. It's about being open to all sections of the community and for people to see what's going on and experience the excitement of life sciences. But in terms of the Oxford Day, we've got Oxford Science Enterprises, Oxford University Innovation, Longwall Ventures, Oxford Technology Management, Oxford Venture Angels. We've got the hardcore ecosystem of Oxford coming together to support, well, it's called Cambridge Wide Open Week, but we now kind of beginning to call it combined ways of working. And that's more of the kind of energy that we want to bring to the week.
So you're then going to run that same format in Cambridge. Is that over the Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah, we've got 2 days in Cambridge for the venture tour across Monday and Tuesday. That's correct.
I take it you've got the same type of support from the venture funds in Cambridge as you have had last year.
That's right. We've got Amadeus, Cambridge Innovation Capital, Cambridge Angels, Park Walk, Cambridge Enterprise, O2H Ventures, Meltwind, the Cambridge Judge, Babraham, and various others are all getting in behind the venture tour. So everyone who was in it last year is coming again, and we've got 1 or 2 good additions as well.
Yeah, and it really is, just for listeners who haven't attended, you could literally sit there all day and have your mind completely blown by all of these startups and emerging ideas coming through, can't you?
Absolutely. And we've got Cancer Research Horizons is also joining the gang of investors here, and they're doing some incredible work. And I've got some incredible portfolio companies, which we're happy to hear about the latest research that they're working on in Cancer Research Horizons.
Okay, so I'm going to deliberately ignore Wednesday and come back to that. So what else is happening on Thursday and Friday?
On Thursday, we've got the BIA Tech Bio X. So they're bringing their panel and insights about what's going on in Tech Bio. We're doing it at the Discovery Centre. And then AstraZeneca have their signature exchange program in there, in which we get to understand some of the latest research from their lead scientists in terms of AstraZeneca, and they're also bringing in some interesting people from the community and debating the future of science in Cambridge and beyond that. So that's always a very exciting day on the Thursday. That's all happening at the AstraZeneca DISC.
Yeah, and just as a heads up, Prashant, so that you don't get shocked again, the AstraZeneca event's also running a session on innovation ecosystems, and I will be on the stage talking for the partnership. I'm just giving you a heads up so you know I'm going to be there.
You're everywhere, Faye. So I'm not surprised.
Funny. So let's get back to Cambridge Wide Open Day. I mean, that is a highlight. That one single day bringing together everybody and, entirely across the community as well, not just the life sciences biotech space. So tell us what's going on across Cambridge on the Wednesday and also what's happening at Hawkston House.
Well, we've got an amazing array of speakers and venues. At Granta Park, we've got Wolf Reich, who's from Altos Labs. And if you've never heard him speak about science, aging, he's extremely charismatic. At Oxton House, we've kind of got talks by Foremost, at Unity Campus, Welcome Campus are all joining in, Stevenage, Biocatalyst, we've got Pete Freeman, we've got a venture tour at Merlin Place, the Female Founders Network is coming in, we've got Deborah Prentice from the Cambridge University. We've got Gillian Tett, who's a beautifully enigmatic speaker. We've got Harriet Fear doing her talk, an interview session on a punt at Hawkston House. We've got a giant garden party as always, which is open to all. So we enjoy hosting that. The mayor will be dropping in as well. We've got a tour at Babraham by Louise Jopling. I mean, there's so much going on, and everything is going to be on the website. We're going to have a digital calendar as well, and a digital PDF to make it easier to navigate. So we're beginning to kind of post all that on the website. If you're registered, you'll get those details automatically. You can also register and hear the updates of what's coming up on LinkedIn, Cambridge Wide Open Week.
Perfect. So I'm now going to do a scoop, right? So James won't be happy that I'm actually announcing this without him. But I remember year one, I got in the car with Tabitha Goldstob, who was the then Innovate Cambridge director, and she wanted to know more about Cambridge. And I'm like, we're going to get in the car and drive around Cambridge and go and see all of these different things happening during Cambridge Wide Open Day. So this year, we're going to do something different from the podcast point of view, because our main sponsor, Holden from Bury St Edmunds, they are going to actually issue us a Polestar car for a day, and we are going to carpool between locations, chauffeuring people around, asking them what they've found out, who they've spoken to, what they've learned, what they've heard. And so that's going to be our little bit of fun and a different way of seeing Cambridge Wide Open Week. So 2 questions. Number 1, what do you think to our rather random idea? And number 2, will you be our first passenger?
I think your idea is brilliant, and I hope it catches on of carpooling and in funky vehicles with cool people, and then showcasing and then highlighting what's going on. I think that's exactly the kind of vibe that we're looking for. I would be delighted to be your first passenger and to help join in some of the energy of CWOW, because it is wonderful seeing people crisscross the city and walking across the street and saying, oh, I've just been here. Are you going there? Hello. You know, Cambridge suddenly has this open house vibe for life sciences during the day. So I really do enjoy the buzz of the day.
Yeah, well, I will be at the breakfast with you, so I will frog march you out and get you in the car, and then we can find out how things are going. So you just mentioned everything's online, so people can just go to the website and register?
That's correct. And I'd really want to highlight some of our sponsors as well, if I may. Donna from Mills and Reeve has been astonishing from the very beginning. They've been title sponsors all the way through. We've also got John Kelty as premier sponsors and Amrojit from Appleyard. They've been really key. I would say Cofinitive, Cambridge Management Consultants, obviously yourselves, Cambridge Tech Podcast. Lorna has been really, really helpful, has joined in the gang this year. Laura Zyme for PR and media communications. We've got Deloitte and Innovate Cambridge for venues and space, the Crick, OSE, Inventor, Victoria House, and so on and so on. But I really want to also thank you, Faye. You have, from the very first moment we had the idea, and you reached out, and you've been the first person who gave me the confidence that this could be something, and you got involved, you shaped it, you didn't ask for anything. You were just such a genuine behind the scenes but really effective supporter to myself and Ajit as we were shaping the very first version of this on every front, and you're absolutely on it. So I can't thank you enough. It's got your hallmarks and your energy in this, so thank you so much.
Bless you. Thank you. That's very, very sweet of you. And yeah, I reiterate the shout out to the O2AH team. You know, the work that they put in to this event is absolutely incredible each and every year. So well done.
Can I also say, I'm kind of here doing this podcast, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk about Cambridge Wide Open Week. But this year, more than the other years, if I were to slight aside, if you look at a lot of products these days, and you pick up anything from your desk, on the reverse of it says "Made in China." But this Cambridge Wide Open Week has largely been made by Ajit sitting in India, and the team there. So just as a little aside, this Cambridge Wide Open Week made in India with Ajit and a bit of French of Francois, yeah. But this is the engine room of who's been doing the work and pulling it all together and coordinating everything with all the venues and all the speakers and all the sponsors and so on. So thank you very much to Ajit and his team. And his events and marketing team have done a really good job and have allowed me to do a number of other things as well, and not only work on Cambridge Wide Open Week.
Yeah, bravo. And what I would suggest to listeners is follow on LinkedIn as well, because all of the updates all happen over LinkedIn. So, get yourself some tickets, make sure you take part. Honestly, it's just some of the best time that you're going to spend in June. So Prashant, thanks very much. You've been such a good sport today, doing the updates and the news read and telling us all about Cambridge Wide Open Week, or combined ways of working. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon, no doubt.
No doubt I'm going to run into you soon, by design and also by accident, quite a bit over the next few days.
Excellent.
Thanks so much, Faye. Take care.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It'll really help others discover the show.